specifically drawn for the Anaheim location by Marvin Davis, as well as the first plan that has been rotated to place the entrance on the south side, trying different arrangements and including a variety of attractions and experiences. This is a real illustration of what Walt meant when he said, "As long as there is imagination left in the world, Disneyland will never be completed." Walt Disney Imagineering has a 200,000 piece collection of concept and design artwork created by over 2,100 artists for our theme parks, resorts, and cruise ships worldwide. I'm Mike Jesko, Imagineering's principal art archivist, and I have the privilege of working with that collection every day. The artwork you see in the Disney Gallery all comes from the Imagineering art collection. We're pleased to share it with you in celebration of Disneyland's 70th anniversary. Some of these pieces may be favorites of yours, and some, I can tell you, have never been seen before. Displayed together for the first time are 10 Disneyland site plans. They take you on a journey of Walt's first idea for Disneyland on a strip of land across the street from his studio in Burbank up to the Disneyland site plan created for Anaheim the same weekend Walt Disney and Herb Ryman created their iconic bird's eye view of the park. For the first time, you get to see the details of what was inside the Burbank version of Disneyland and Harper Goff's site plans. You can see how Walt was thinking about all aspects of his park, such as themed merchandise, and how the name of his park was always going to be Disneyland. Walt's expanding ideas for what he wanted Disneyland to be outgrew the Burbank site, and he started the search for the right location to build his theme park. 2 site plans by Marvin Davis explore versions of what a 50-acre park might look like. On display is the first site plan specifically drawn for the Anaheim location by Marvin Davis, as well as the first plan that has been rotated to place the entrance on the south side of the park, as it is today. The next site plan is the one famously included in the pitch kit Roy Disney used in New York when presenting the idea of Disneyland to potential investors. The final site plan on display is one drawn by Marvin Davis the same weekend Walt and Herb Ryman were creating their masterpiece overall bird's eye of Disneyland. The site plan is included in their drawing in the bottom right corner. Seeing this collection together of Disneyland site plans shows exactly what Walt was thinking as he explored what Disneyland could be. I hope you see the many ideas he had and how he kept trying different arrangements and including a variety of attractions and experiences. This is a real illustration of what Walt meant when he said, "As long as there is imagination left in the world, Disneyland will never be completed." As it is today.
And could I reach the nation's ears, I would today pour out a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, fire. It is not the gentle shout, but thunder.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Disneyland Opera House. In just under 15 minutes, we'll have our next showing of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln here in the back lobby. We also have a pre-show that will begin shortly on the screen above the fireplace that details the friendship between Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. This was was created in partnership with National Geographic. We'd love to invite you to join us for it. We ask that if you're entering the theater for our main show, that you finish any open food or beverages here in the lobby before entering. Our stroller parking is located just outside the building in front of our neighbors at Disneyland, and we are reserving the center aisle for folks traveling in wheelchairs, scooters, and other mobility devices, as well as their parties. Once again, our next showing of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln will begin in 12 minutes.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Robin Roberts. While we are waiting to enter the theater for Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, we'd like to tell you the story of an unlikely friendship that transformed America forever.
Under his wise and beneficent rule, we saw ourselves gradually lifted from the depths of slavery to the heights of liberty and manhood. Though we waited long, we saw all this and more.
Abraham Lincoln is known as the Great Emancipator, but the moniker wasn't earned overnight. It would take the tireless work of the abolitionist movement, led by Frederick Douglass, who himself was born enslaved, to guide Lincoln towards the cause of freedom.
I am alike familiar with the whip and chain of slavery, and the lash and sting of public neglect and scorn, that my back is marked with the one, and my soul is fettered with the other.
After years of opposition, these two giants would find common ground and change the course of history. 10 years before the Emancipation Proclamation was enacted,
If all earthly power were given me, I should not know what to do as to the existing institution.
Oh, had I the ability, and could I reach the nation's ear, I would today pour out a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder.
Frederick Douglass never had a pair of pants or shoes until he was about 6 or 7 years old. He would sleep head first in an old corn sack with his feet hanging out on cold winter nights to try and keep himself warm.
teaching the enslaved to read was illegal, so young Frederick secretly traded what little food he had in exchange for reading lessons.
It just shows how much he understood how education was going to be his key to freedom.
And a key to freedom it was. At the age of 20, Douglass made a daring escape and went north, settling in Massachusetts. There he soared. From orator
The one cannot be truly free, while the other is a slave.
to newspaper editor
Truth is of no color.
and best-selling author,
From that moment, I understood the pathway from slavery to freedom.
he was the central voice of the abolitionist movement.
He had this natural gift for communication. He was eloquent. He was charismatic.
There wasn't a venue, a building large enough to hold people who wanted to hear him.
Would you have me argue that man is entitled to liberty? That he is the rightful owner of his own body? Must I argue the wrongfulness of slavery? At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument, is needed.
Much of Douglass's irony was directed towards Washington, D.C. and Abraham Lincoln, the anti-slavery president who took office just as the Civil War began in 1861.
Anti-slavery is very different than being an abolitionist. It was very gradual that most anti-slavery candidates believed in the abolition of slavery.
I do not suppose that ultimate extinction would occur in less than 100 years at the least.
That would have put the end of slavery in 1958. And for Frederick Douglass, that's outrageous.
Mr. Lincoln is quite a genuine representative of American prejudice, and far more concerned for the preservation of slavery.
Douglass was relentless in his fight for freedom, and with the steady drumbeat of the abolitionist movement in his ear, Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing enslaved people in the southern states, and for the first time, making it legal for all black men to fight in the Civil War. These new soldiers injected the Union Army with much needed manpower, but still, they faced discrimination and disparity.
Douglass is so outraged that he makes a trip to D.C. and decides he wants to meet with Lincoln himself.
To his surprise, Lincoln agreed to see him immediately.
He was ushered up past all of the people that were waiting to see Lincoln that day. And just imagine this visual of this black man just bounding up the steps, and people are looking at him like, who is that?
Lincoln begins the conversation and he says, "Hello, Mr. Douglass," essentially. "It's good finally to meet you. I've read your writings a lot. I know you've been very critical of me."
Their one-on-one left a lasting impression on both men, and Lincoln vowed to improve the conditions for black soldiers.
My whole interview with the president was gratifying and did much to assure me that slavery would not survive the war, and that the country would survive both slavery and war.
A year later, it is Lincoln who needs Douglass's help.
He feels he's going to lose re-election, essentially says, "I need you. I think the war is going badly."
Lincoln entrusted Douglass with creating a plan for aiding the escape of enslaved people from rebel territory so that they could join the Union cause.
Douglass writes a detailed letter to Lincoln spelling out his vision of these special forces.
He did not let me feel for a moment that there was any difference in the color of our skins. The president is a most remarkable man.
With Douglass's support, Lincoln would go on to turn the tide of the war and win re-election. The following year, Douglass returned to Washington once more to attend the inauguration.
Now in this multitude of elite of the land, I felt myself a man among men.
It's the first time a president devotes most of the speech to African Americans.
1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves.
Frederick Douglass heard his words and his language in Lincoln's address.
Until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword.
The work that he had done over so many years, he was now hearing this at a very important moment in time in the nation's history.
Douglass is invited to the White House for a reception, sees Douglass enter, and he yells out,
Here comes my friend, Frederick Douglass. There is no man in the country whose opinion I value more than yours.
Mr. Lincoln, that was a sacred effort.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom.
Frederick Douglass, well, truth to power, and he never stopped fighting for his people, and he understood that the struggle continued. He said,
Without struggle, there is no progress. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will.
And now, here is Walt Disney to talk a little more about the nation's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln.
Ever since I was a youngster, I've had a great personal admiration for Abraham Lincoln. So when we decided to bring to Disneyland's visitors some great moments in Mr. Lincoln's life, we began an exhaustive research. We wanted to bring to the people of today the inspiring words of the man who held this nation together during its moment of greatest crisis, the Civil War. To start with, we were fortunate in being able to secure this life mask of the 16th president. How did we get this, Blaine?
This is actually a copy of an original life mask by the sculptor Leonard Volk.
Before Lincoln was president.
Before Lincoln was president.
Before he had a beard.
That's right.
During our exhaustive research into Lincoln's life, we studied his mannerisms, his gestures, and even his voice characteristics to create a faithful likeness of this honored man. Our final result is so lifelike that you might find it hard to believe. Now let's go into the Opera House and listen carefully to the words of Mr. Lincoln, spoken by him a century ago, but which still apply today to free men everywhere.
If you would now please pass through the doors leading to our theater, we welcome you to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln.
Now the doors are going to be opening towards you. Make sure you stay back behind the red line on the carpet. And please watch your step when you come inside. We do have stairs and ramps inside the theater. Our presentation is 14 minutes long. Once again, no food or drinks allowed inside the theater. We do have trash cans in the front and back lobby. Strollers must be parked outside the attraction entrance before coming into the theater. If you have any scooter, wheelchair, or any other mobility devices, you can enter the theater through the center aisle underneath the Workhouse and Opera House Theater. Once again, stay clear of the red line on the floor. Doors are about to open towards you.
And welcome in. Everyone, and welcome to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. As a courtesy to those around you, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. We ask that you refrain from any flash photography or video recording with lighting during the show. And if at any time you need to exit the theater, please feel free to do so through the doors on the right and then exit through the curtain to find yourself back on Main Street, USA. Now, this show first debuted in 1964 at the New York World's Fair before moving here to the Opera House in 1965. Mr. Lincoln is the first full-scale human audio animatronics figure, and this show is a Disney treasure, not just for this reason alone, but because this was directed by Walt Disney himself. So now, through the magic of Disney, we get to relive great moments with Mr. Lincoln. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln.
Majesties of a throne.
the American dream, the prayer for the future. But that golden goal was not to be had without cost. The American way was not gained in a day. It was born in adversity, forged out of conflict, perfected and proven only after long experience and trial. In all of history, no man was dedicated to this dream more than the 16th President of these United States, Abraham Lincoln. Here in his own words is what he once wrote about himself. For at that time, very few people outside Illinois knew very much about this man from the prairie.
I was born February 12th, 1809, in Hardin County, Kentucky. My father removed from Kentucky to what is now Spencer County, Indiana, in my 8th year. It was a wild region, with many bears and other wild animals still in the woods. There I grew up. I was large for my age, and had an axe put into my hands at once. And from that to my 23rd year, was almost constantly handling that most useful instrument. I think that the aggregate of all my schooling did not amount to 1 year. At 21, I came to Illinois. Thought of trying to study law. Rather thought I could not succeed at that without better education. I borrowed some law books, took them home, and went at it in good earnest. In 1854, the law profession had almost superseded the thought of politics in my mind, when the repeal of the Missouri Compromise aroused me as I had never been before. What I have done since then is pretty well known. If any personal description of me is thought desirable, it may be said I am in height, 6 feet 4 inches, nearly, lean in flesh, weighing on an average of 180 pounds, dark complexion, with coarse black hair and gray eyes, and no other marks or brands recollected. Yours very truly, A. Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln became president faced with the terrible threat of civil war, a thing he dreaded, yet a calamity he was prepared to meet if he must.
Without union, the Constitution is only a piece of paper. I know there is a God, and that he hates injustice and slavery. I see the storm coming. I know his hand is in it. If he has a place and work for me, and I think he has, I believe I'm ready. And with God's help, I shall not fail.
April 12, 1861, Fort Sumter. The cannon spoke for war. Civil war, violent, devastating. Now had come the reckoning, the supreme test that would decide whether a republic founded on liberty could survive the terrible strife of men's passions.
Two brothers on their way, two brothers on their way, two brothers on their way, one wore blue and one wore gray. One wore blue and one wore gray, as they marched along their way. The fife and drum began to play, all on a beautiful morning. One was gentle, one was kind. One was gentle, one was kind. One came home, one stayed behind. A cannonball don't pay no mind. A cannonball don't pay no mind. If you're gentle or if you're kind. It don't think of the folks behind. All on a beautiful morning. All on a beautiful morning.
87 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure.
10 brief sentences, so simple, so direct. Abraham Lincoln had not expected his words to live beyond their temporary moment, but time and history would dictate otherwise. And so today, his Gettysburg Address is immortal, a rich and treasured part of our country's heritage. We pay tribute here not to a man who lived a century ago, but to an individual who lives today in the hearts of all freedom-loving people. His prophetic words are as valid for our time as they were for his. And now, the skills of the sculptor and the talents of the artist will let us relive great moments with Mr. Lincoln.
The world has never had a good definition of the word liberty. And the American people just now are much in want of one. We all declare for liberty, but in using the same word, we do not all mean the same thing. What constitutes the bulwark of our liberty and independence? It is not our frowning battlements, our bristling seacoasts. These are not our reliance against tyranny. Our reliance is in the love of liberty, which God has planted in our bosoms. Our defense is in the preservation of the spirit which prizes liberty as the heritage of all men, in all lands, everywhere. Destroy this spirit, and you have planted the seeds of despotism around your own doors. At what point shall we expect the approach of danger? By what means shall we fortify against it? Shall we expect some transatlantic military giant to step the ocean and crush us with a blow? Never. All the armies of Europe, Asia, and Africa combined could not by force take a drink from the Ohio or make a track on the Blue Ridge in a trial of 1,000 years. At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it ever reach us, it must spring from amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we ourselves must be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all times, or die by suicide. Neither let us be slandered from our duty by false accusations against us, nor frightened from it by the menaces of destruction to the government, nor of dungeons to ourselves. Let us have faith that right makes might. And in that faith, let us to the end dare to do our duty as we understand it.
With your golden dreams, flying high.